Hi everyone. Let's think back to the video you watched yesterday about making connections. What do you remember? Think about it for about 5 seconds. I hope that you got a chance to make some connections during your independent reading yesterday. I'm going to show you, and I read my book today, how to make a connection. First, let's look at these sentence starters to help us. There's 4 ways that you can start to make a connection. You can say, I think. You can say, this makes me think about. Or this reminds me of. Or I remember. I'm going to read a book to you today and make some connections while I'm reading. I'll be thinking out loud, but when you're doing your reading, you'll be doing this in your head. I'm going to remember to think about my life, the world, and other books that I've read. So the book I chose to read to you today is called Lily's Purple Plastic Purse, and it's one of my favorite books. So let's get started. As I'm reading, notice how I make connections to the story. Lily loved school. She loved the pointy pencils, she loved the squeaky chalk, and she loved the way her boots went clickety-clickety-click down the long, shiny hallways. Lily loved the privacy of her very own desk. She loved the fish sticks and chocolate milk every Friday in the lunchroom. And most of all, she loved her teacher, Mr. Slinger. Mr. Slinger was as sharp as a tack. He wore artistic shirts, he wore glasses on a chain around his neck, and he wore a different colored tie for each day of the week. Mr. Slinger reminds me of a teacher that I had in 4th grade. Her name was Mrs. Rhodes, and I really loved her. See that connection that I just made? I used the words "this reminds me of," and I thought about something in my own life to connect to the book. Wow, said Lily. That was just about all she could say. Wow. Instead of greeting students or good morning pupils, Mr. Slinger winked and said, howdy. He thought that desks in rows were old-fashioned and boring. Do you rodents think you can handle a semicircle? And he always provided the most tasty snacks, things that were curly and crunchy and cheesy. I want to be a teacher when I grow up, said Lily. Me too, said her friends, Chester and Wilson and Victor. At home, Lily pretended to be Mr. Slinger. I am the teacher, she told her baby brother Julius. Listen up. Lily even wanted her own set of deluxe picture encyclopedias. When Lily's acting like a teacher there and she's pretending to be her teacher, that reminds me of a time when I used to play school with my sisters in our basement where I'm at right now. See, there's a chalkboard and an easel with a whiteboard. So this really reminds me of that time. See the connection that I just made? So far I've made 2 connections to my book. You might not always have a connection in a book that you read, but try to look for them and try to think about times in your life, something you've seen on the news, a connection where you say, oh, Lily has a purple plastic purse and I once had a purple purse. Might not be the best connection. You want to go a little bit deeper. Or like, Lily has red boots and I have red boots. Or I know someone named Lily. You want to go a little bit deeper with your connections, and we will practice this when we start reading together in our reading groups. But for now, see if in your independent reading you can try to make a connection to the book that you are reading. See you tomorrow.